Hi, it's me again. Here we are in a local park. My wife's doing some filming while I roam around and look at some wild food. During this time of the zombie apocalypse, also known as COVID-19, it doesn't hurt to know a little bit about wild foods. And a lot of local parks actually have wild foods. Today I'm just going to concentrate on one, but those plants you just saw as we panned past them, that was wild taro. And wild taro, well, the taro you eat in the shops has been bred over years or centuries perhaps, and is edible. But the wild taro has a lot of what's known as raphides in it, which are kind of like microscopic, almost like microscopic hypodermic needles. And once I cooked this stuff up to test it, and after boiling it for about an hour, which should have normally destroyed a lot of the raphides and various chemicals and stuff that's in them, I took a mouthful and it was like chewing 1,000 hypodermic needles. And it lasted for about an hour. And every time I moved my tongue around in my mouth, it would start again with more injections of these hypodermic needles. So you have to be a little bit careful with wild foods, but the one I'm going to show you today is pretty benign, it's pretty common, and it has multiple uses. And it's called Typha. I'll just get over here so I can show it to you. You're probably all familiar with it. This is it here, and you probably know what it looks like normally. It's like a long sausage, and I can't see any that are in the sausage phase at the moment. I've got a bit of a swamp full of them here, but at this stage here, this stuff is like fantastic for lighting fires. Makes a great tinder, but you have to mix it with other stuff because it lights and burns very quickly. I've also slept in Sweden in a sleeping bag that was full of this stuff, and it works because it retains your heat because it has lots of air spaces in it. It's kind of like a down or like a feather type of mix. Anyway, that's not what we're interested in today. What we're interested in is the food value of this. And if you go down and fold this down to the bottom, you'll get to the base of it, and then you dig down. If it's in water, it's quite easy. You'll dig down into the base, and you can dig up the, I suppose you call it a lignotuber or a root, I suppose, but it's full of starch. So we're going to see if we can get some out of here. This might be a bit dry here, but I'll just see. Okay, now you see, now that tore a little bit, which is probably a good thing to show you. What I would normally do is dig around and I'd follow this along and pull up this whole root section, and then you would roast it, peel away the outer layer, and the central section of it is full of starch, and you just twist that to have the starch come out. Or you can soak it in water and twist it, and the starch will settle to the bottom of the water, then you pour the water off. It also has these little, can't see it here, but you'll have these little bits of rootstock that will stick up. They'll only be about that big along the way, and they are quite edible and quite tasty as well. This was the survival food of the Native Americans, and it was also a staple food of the Aborigines on the Murray-Darling River system. I wrote my original university thesis on this actual plant, and I experimented a lot with it. So if you have this stuff growing nearby, very useful for a whole pile of things, not only for the food but also for the tinder. The leaves can be made into baskets. You can make a type of sandal out of it, which I'll show you at one stage. If I can find a better example of this, I'll pull up more of the root and I'll show you what it looks like. Now you can eat the base of this, but it's actually the roots that we are particularly concerned with. So that's edible there, probably about a centimetre or two. And it's got a lot of water in it, but it's also got starch. But it's still the roots that we're mainly looking for. There we go. Now that's quite edible, that bit there. That's still not the root system, but you'll find when you do get the root system, it's quite long and it joins up to other ones of these. And that's got the starch in it. This is edible as well. It's got starch in it, and they're quite tasty. They're pretty good cooked or raw, but again, you've got to be a bit careful about the water source that you find them in, because they'll pick up the chemicals and all that kind of thing. But this is a great multi-purpose survival food, and I recommend it. Okay, I'm just going to take that bit home and a few others and just cook them up, see how they go.
Is this our dinner tonight?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Isn't it helpful to have a survival guy as a husband? Ready? So in the background here you can see more of the Typha. It's also known as reedmace, bulrush, cumbungi. There's a whole host of other names, but the species is actually Typha. And Australia has 3 species that I know of. 2 of them are native and 1 is introduced, but they're all pretty similar. And those seed heads you can see in the background, they will be dispersed by the wind because they're quite light and fluffy, and that will lead to more Typha growing in other places. It tends to choke up areas a bit, but from a survival food resource, it's very, very good.